is going on, guys? It's Yoji. In this video I want to talk about two things. First of all, the negativity in the community currently, and secondly about why PoE is actually awesome and why we shouldn't maybe be super critical about the game all the time and sometimes take some time to acknowledge that this game is actually pretty awesome still. And probably will continue to be for a while, maybe even get better. Who would have thought? So first of all, I want to be a bit more positive, mostly because I think the current meta of like talking about the game is overall pretty negative, and I'm always going against the meta, as you know, so I kind of like to do that. However, before you call me a GGG shill and someone's like, oh, you're selling out, you're just talking positive about PoE because whatever reason, I'll link a podcast below. It's the latest episode of Hater Connections where I was a guest together with Project PT, and we were pretty critical about the game, the issues the game has, for roughly 3.5 hours straight. So if you want to have a look at that, if you prefer critical content, feel free to go there. But this video will mostly be positive about the game and maybe criticizing a bit what the Path of Exile community, especially some parts of the community, I know it's not all of us, are doing currently and why I think it's not a good thing. Now, first of all, of course, I get why there's a bit more negativity happening in general in the world, maybe even, but also especially in gaming and with games. Because of the current pandemic situation, a lot of people are spending more time with games. Maybe they get burned out about their favorite games a bit quicker than they normally would, and that certainly can be the case with PoE as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense that people maybe get burned out a bit more, or maybe just spend more time with the game. And whenever you spend more time with the game, or with anything really, you start noticing the flaws of it a bit more directly and a bit more, like, they come more to light. Same with like a lot of marriage breakups during the pandemic as well. I think that might be a similar case, so maybe you never spent this much time with PoE before, and maybe that's what causes someone to be a bit more negative about the game. Also, if the most positive thing you've had happen in your game was your COVID test recently, then I can totally understand why you would be in a negative mood overall. I still think, however, it's not good to, project and to let these emotions out and vent about the game constantly. And I really dislike it even more if it's happening under the veil of constructive criticism, because, yeah, if you're being constructive about it, that's nice and all, but let's put it this way. If you are constructive with your criticism, but you're criticizing someone 24/7, then they're gonna be pissed about it and it stops being constructive. Because, let's say you have a friend who made, like, I don't know, does something wrong, you tell them, hey, yo, dude, you're doing it this way, maybe you should do it the other way. I think that would be way better for everyone involved. That would be nice. Like, no matter what the issue is, right? Just like as an example. If you do that, that's pretty constructive. You give them something they can improve. You told them why you think it's not bad, not good what they're doing, why it's a bad idea, and you told them what the mistake is with the hopes of, like, betterment, right? Constructive. Now imagine you do that every 5 minutes for the next 2 weeks. He's gonna punch you in the face, and for good reason. So I think that is why constructive criticism is good, but if it's just a barrage of criticism, no matter how constructive, it just becomes toxic and just becomes bad at that point. Now, of course, GG is not a person, it's a company, but you get the point. There's still people behind that. There's people who put a lot of effort and work in there. So I think the overall, I don't know, atmosphere that's currently happening in the game is probably not good for a lot of players, probably driving people away from the game. It's probably making it harder for content creators. I know a few I talk to who find it difficult to, like, stay positive about the game and criticize, if their content is not about criticizing, because they get a lot of hate, get a lot of flack that is often very much uncalled for, by the way. And yeah, I think overall it's a pretty tricky situation, and which is why I think that it's will probably also only make things worse, is that negativity in the community, and if every single word GGG puts out towards the community gets twisted against them, then they will just communicate less and become way more like all these big PR-only corporations type game developers or publishers that you despise so much. That's what you make by being this way. If you twist everything against a company, all you will get is non-content PR responses. That is what happens. And that is not like GGG saying, oh, if you do this, then you... That's their only way out. If you take everything they say in a candid fashion and put it against them, and use it against them, then they won't do that anymore, and they will only give you basically politician responses. That's what they do. Politicians can't have shitstorms happen against them because they will can get cancelled, and that's what they do. That's how that happens. Alright, but now for the positive stuff, why I think Path of Exile is an awesome game, why we should I think I now stated why we should focus more on the awesome stuff. And I'm someone who's put thousands of hours into Path of Exile, and a lot of people, probably also who have criticized the game a lot, have done so as well. And I don't know if you ever read one of these Steam reviews where it's like, shit game, absolutely not worth your money, and then you look at like how many hours the person played, and it says something like 3,000 hours played. You're like, so you paid like $40 for a game, played 4,000 hours, and you hated every minute of it? That's not realistic. And yeah, you can dislike the direction the game is going, but there's probably something in this game that you enjoy and why you're playing it so much. And that's what I want to talk to you about and tell you about today, why I play so much Path of Exile, have played so much Path of Exile, why I enjoy and love the game. And even with all the criticism and stuff, I don't want to invalidate the criticism, right? I don't want to invalidate. I think currently my top 2 problems are performance is not good, and GGG have just with another development post acknowledged that they think it's not okay how the performance is currently, and they're like pulling forward, like putting out next week probably their next performance patch, so they're working on it. The other thing is clicking and flasking and splintering and all that type of stuff. Those are my main criticism points, just like to put it in perspective. Now for the positivity, like half the video is freaking disclaimer, man. That's how far we've gotten. So first of all, what I enjoy is the diversity in the game. I enjoy the diversity of content. There's enough to do in the game, like at all times. There's a lot to do. I think it can sometimes be a bit overwhelming, but I much prefer this to just like playing a game, being like, yo, I done everything now. It's been 10 hours since starting to play this game. Done everything now. That's all there is to it. So I'd much rather have a game where it's like, oh, okay, I got this to do, and I got this to do, and I got that to do, and man, it's so much stuff. That's cool. And a lot of this stuff is actually fun, really cool. You can specialize in specific aspects more than ever now with the Atlas passive system, which allows you to specialize in the content that you like. I think that is freaking amazing. We've been asking for more agency about our in-game customization now, and I think it is a fantastic thing that we got there. There's diversity of builds. There are so many viable builds in this game. I have not played all viable builds or all viable archetypes, and I play the game probably more than most people do. I think there are probably a lot of like full-time streamers who have not played every single archetype they would want to try ever like in the game. Like, you have to play probably like zero amounts of the game to have played like basically all archetypes and all different playstyles, and all builds I think is probably an impossibility at this point. So I'd say that and I'm talking viable builds, not optimal OP meta builds. That's the difference. And viable for your playstyle can differ, but I think a lot of people a bit underestimate a bit what you can actually make work, and that you don't always have to play the awesome, perfect, optimal meta build, right? So there's a lot of stuff to try out, playstyles to try out, if you let the game do that. Now, another thing is that, of course, we got a crap ton of content. I think that's something that sometimes maybe easy to overlook, is that the ridiculous amount of content that GGG put out. I don't think any game even like parallels this amount of content that we are getting. And the craziness is that the content is also very high quality. I'm not just talking about the leagues. They put out a league every 3 months, and with that come balance changes, come new skills, come like a lot of new stuff. And that stuff is usually pretty high quality. Yes, there's some bugs. Yes, there's some stuff to fix usually. But it's the server issues, is despite like except for this league, has never been as bad as with any other game. Any other game at launch, like always, there's always problems, and GGG has actually been pretty good at not having this many problems. So I think we are pretty low on problems, especially for the amount of content we get. And the game is just offering so much for free, as in like, maybe there's like some pay to play here if you like want to get some stash tabs, but you don't have to buy like crap tons of stuff. This is not a pay to win game by any means, in the sense of you like have to pay to keep playing. No, you spend like $20-40, like a full price title money on like some stash tabs and some whatevers that are good to get, and that's it. That's really it. And then you get thousands, 10,000 of hours of enjoyment out of this game. New patch, new season every 3 months since the last how many years? 6 years, 7 years, 8 years? I don't even know. So I think that is freaking amazing. And yeah, as I said, the quality of these not only the leagues, like if you look at the expansion, they put out one expansion per year, which is like usually an endgame update or something like that, like the Maven, like the Conquerors, like Warfare, the Atlas, and so on. And that content is usually, I think, really cool, really highly polished, and that's just endgame stuff that a lot of people won't even get to see. So they really care about their endgame player base, and they people who put a lot of hours into, which is not normal for a lot of games as well. So I think that is fantastic. And the skills that we get are usually even if they're not top tier viable meta skills, and there have been like very few blunders where some skills were like really not viable, they usually go back and rework them at some point, like Storm Burst, for example, when they released on a really low power level. But it was a skill that looked cool, so they reworked that. But I think like all the recent skills, with one exception that I can think of, have been really, really good. From Hydrosphere, from like the Frost Shield, what's called the Sigil, the Archmage Sigil type thing. The support skill Flame Wall is fantastic. Reap, Exsanguinate, this patch were really, really cool skills. They're like so much fun stuff. I think the only one I can think of is like the Rune spell. What's called the... I don't even know what the name is. The Mana Runes type deal. That was a wonky spell. They tried something different though, which I think is cool. It just didn't really pan out that way. But a lot of other stuff is really fantastic. So... yeah, they do a lot of cool stuff. The expansions are always extremely exciting. Leagues can be a bit hit or miss, but usually the balance shakeups are good enough and interesting enough to make a league and a patch fresh enough to play. At least for me, that works out pretty well. So that all has been crazy insane. And then the itemization. The game is so freaking deep with like all the itemization choices and stuff. How you can approach stats and how you can get stats. There's so much customizability for characters in this game. I think that is unrivaled in anything I've ever played, at least, which is insane. And they balance so much of it. And yeah, the game, sometimes the balance is a bit wonky, sometimes it's really good. But I think overall, it's still, like, for the complexity and the depth of the game, how decently balanced the game still is actually honestly astonishing. Yeah, it's not like perfectly balanced by any means. Like, balance is pretty out of whack. But I think it's still fantastic, and there's like so much stuff to do, so much things to learn. Learning and discovering new interactions as a player who's like 10,000 hours in the game, like basically every league, that's unheard of, in my opinion. So that's something I think is really, really cool, and why I still think that Path of Exile is probably the game, it is my most played game, and is the game that I will probably continue to be playing for a long time, even though I've already played it for such a long time. So, I hope this doesn't come to a surprise to you guys that I feel this way about PoE, because I wouldn't be making content if I didn't enjoy the game. I wouldn't be playing the game if I didn't enjoy the game. This is not my job, so I could quit at any time, as any other addict would say. So that's pretty good. Yeah, with that, I think that's all the reasons why I think it's kind of sad that people are kind of like just looking at bashing GGG and bashing on Path of Exile for basically anything they can. They're grasping at straws at this point. Like for the cursor MTXs, I don't know. Like people were just bashing them for that. I don't get it. We got free cursors. We will probably get some more free cursors. And even if you say like, oh, they presented it badly in a PR type of way, it was not very smart to come out with like the MTX first, and then people are just trying to bash on them. That's what they do. They're just trying to outrage at something at this point, I feel. And I think that's a bit sad. The GGG bashing is kind of like a sport now. It's like who can bash GGG the hardest in every thread on Reddit, in every topic, in every discussion. Like if you don't hate GGG, are you even cool anymore? That's like kind of like how I feel sometimes about it currently. And that's not a fun atmosphere to be a content creator and a player of the game in. So I can understand how this would drive people away as well. So yeah, that's mostly it. Not a very cool ending, but overall, try to make this video as positive as possible. I think I rambled a good 5 to 6 minutes about how awesome I think Path of Exile has been, and still is to this day. I still love the game. I don't think they should get hate for curses. And even to the people who were like, oh, the symptoms, this is a symptom of GGG doing this or that or whatever. Like, of all the things they've done, like, bad in the past, this is what you pick as your symptom of, like, something that you see in the future? Freaking cursor MTX? I hope they give us some UI MTX in general. As long as they don't solve problems with the MTX, like, you only get your icons, buff icons in a better visual manner if you buy this MTX. I don't think they will do that, and they haven't done that, stuff like that in the past. I'm cool with like different looking life globes and mana globes and stuff like that. I'm totally cool with this type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know, make my inventory screen and whatever look different. It's cool. People can pay for that if they want. I most likely maybe won't, unless they release something really cool. Maybe you can get a mouse pointer as a league reward, like challenge reward. I think then people will maybe rage really hard. That would be pretty hilarious. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for the support to my Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/itsyoji. You should check that out. There's some extra content there sometimes. It's kind of nice. I'm Yoji. and I will see you soon.